Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Gali Kovacs. I'm going to host this webinar for you today, and with me is Jeff Whitaker, our Product Marketing Manager for OnTap Cloud. We want to thank you for taking the time to join this webinar. We're going to be discussing enterprise data management in the Azure Cloud. A few housekeeping announcements. You will be muted, but you can actually use the question chat box to ask questions, and we will get to them at the end of the session. We will also share a recording of this webinar with everybody who's online now and everybody who registered and couldn't make it. You will be able to view. You will be able to have an on-demand access to it. And I'm going to hand it over to Jeff to start. I know we're all under time pressure. We're going to get our day started. So go ahead, Jeff. Thank you for being here today. And good luck, everyone.
Thank you, Gali. Appreciate the introduction. So as Gali mentioned, my name is Jeff Whitaker. I'm in the Cloud Solutions team with NetApp, and wanted to just kind of go through a little bit on data management environment with Microsoft Azure. I'll go through a few slides here to give you an idea of what we're talking about, kind of set the situation, and then at the end we'll get into a demo, show you a little bit about the solution that we have, and how you can use this for a couple different scenarios, and then from there we'll open it up for questions. So at that point in time, either post your questions in the environment, and then we will go ahead and get rolling.
We hope you can hear us okay. Somebody just pointed out there is some background noise. We are using the computer audio, so hopefully it'll go smoothly. If there are any problems, please use the chat box and let us know. Thank you.
So where I wanted to start off was around cloud in general. What is everybody, and what do we see for people that are making the move into the cloud environment, and why? And really from a standpoint of specifically of how this plays with Azure, one of the big things that we see is really about compute elasticity. So as you look at solutions, you look at environments, things that you want to deploy and launch, it's about scale up or scale down or scale out, having really that true flexibility to have an environment that can adjust with you, and then pay for that environment as you go. So you pay for the resources, you pay for the environment that you use, but you have the flexibility to set the size of the environment that you specifically need. And then look at performance, and when I talk about performance, it's the speed of deploying environments. So when you think of a development environments, and you've got an application that you want to try out, you've got a new update to an environment, rather than go out and procure equipment, test it on given equipment, or find space on given equipment just to validate an environment, you can go to the cloud, choose the space that you need, deploy your application, validate what you need, and shut it off and be done with it. Right? So from a speed perspective, this allows you to do, choose the infrastructure that you need quickly, and turn it on, turn it off, and be done. So very, very quick. When you look at past models of having to get the equipment, you're talking weeks to get the equipment, and now you're talking minutes to deploy an environment or infrastructure. And then the other one here is, so if we look at the compute and the speed of deployment, this is really around the infrastructure type environment where you're deploying an infrastructure component inside of an Azure cloud, their specific compute and storage and everything infrastructure. But there's also services that lie on top of this, right? So another reason that often, we see people going into the cloud environment is to take advantage of the services that are in that. And those services may fit, really the elasticity model and the performance model that, the speed model that we show here earlier, but it's gone given actual services that are offered in that, and they can scale, those services can scale and vary based on your requirements as well. So then we talk about the actual, capabilities of what you're looking at, and many of us are coming from a world where we're used to building the infrastructure and getting a set of features and a set of capabilities and value that in that infrastructure. And when we go off to a cloud environment, things are a little bit different, right? So you go out and you can choose your storage, you can choose your compute, you can choose all these pieces. But once you deploy an infrastructure, some of those same questions and expectations that you had on your own data center premise may be a little bit different. So if we talk about storage, your storage environment is one of those that it's very, it grows with you. Just like, disk capacity inside of a data center, you go to the cloud, storage capacity grows with the infrastructure, the environment that you deploy there. And you want to take advantage of some of those things that you may have come to expect in the data center itself, such as efficiency capabilities. You want to minimize the amount of expense that you have when you're deploying larger and larger environments as your storage grows. So taking advantage of some of those things that you may come to expect in the storage side, such as efficiency, such as data management, such as other things as data movement, and all these different pieces that you may have there, expecting that same thing when you go to the cloud. And then it kind of moves into, well, what about backups, right? And when you go to the cloud, you can back up your data. It's just a matter of when you back up your data, how much are you growing your actual storage capacity, right? How much extra resources do you have to purchase in order to get solid backups? Are you able to back up as often as you want? Is the cost structure meet your requirements? Or are there some of those efficiency things that you may have come to expect on premise, you want to take, you want to get when you move to the cloud? And when there's backups, the reason that we do this is all about recovery, right? In those situations where something happens, where you have a problem, the reason that you're doing those backups is that you can easily get that data and recover to the point that you had last been, or the point that you last had no issue. So making sure that, hey, what is your time objectives? What is your recovery point objectives? These things that are key when it comes to backing up and recovering data, making sure that you can get those at the times that you need them. And then there's the point of data mobility, right? So when you're moving into a cloud environment, there is a path to getting data into the cloud and a path to getting data out of the cloud. Those are typically and different than a more traditional data movement models. And when you're talking about data itself, you want the best ways to move data. You want the most efficient ways to move data. You want to be able to move the data from your premise to the cloud, potentially to other cloud environments as well, and take advantage of that flexibility. So having the ability to do so often isn't transparent across multiple different types of environments. And then data management. So, as you grow your data footprint in the cloud, being able to being able to control where and usage environments that you have across each of those different regions. If you want to manage the environment on your premise and you want to manage the data inside of Azure, having some consistency across those, rather than looking at new ways of managing your data, trying to have some level of consistency across that infrastructure. So that's where, NetApp comes into play. So, just to kind of set the stage a little bit and then grow into some of the specifics here, NetApp has, for over 20 years, we have been providing data management for the data centers, right? We have been providing enterprise level performance, efficiency, all these capabilities on top of data center based or disk based capacity, and really have taken that to the point where we are the #1 storage operating system across the enterprises. So when we look at, worldwide, across enterprises. So we've taken that infrastructure and we've taken those learnings and we've moved the value that we've done there, and we've created this into cloud environments, which I'll touch upon as we move forward. So, and that goes anywhere from, as I said, storage efficiency capabilities, whether you're taking your data, you want to minimize the amount of footprint that you have on disk, that's where we started, to you want to do the same types of things when you go to a cloud environment as well. If you've got 2 terabytes of data, can you do that data set? Can you put that data in the cloud and only use 500 gigabytes of space, right? So things to minimize the amount of resource that you're using inside the cloud, just as you would expect to minimize the amount of disk purchase when you're doing data management on an on-premise environment. Data replication. We bring an industry-leading data replication suite to move your data from system to system, from site to site, backup, a number of different capabilities on top of that, but providing this in a consistent, efficient manner. And then also the data management piece of this, and really bringing a hybrid cloud model. So being able to manage your data independent of where you place it. If you have data in a data center, if you have data in the cloud, if you only have it in one of those locations, being able to manage it, taking advantage of multiple cloud locations, having a hybrid model that can manage your data anywhere you feel to put it, anywhere you want to run your applications and run your workloads. So to dig in a little bit deeper on those specifics, some of the things that NetApp has been known for over the years, starts with a technology that we call snapshots on the far left. I think that the term itself is very common across the industry, but when it comes to the snapshot, that this is about taking a point in time recovery point of your data. It's not actually taking a copy of your data and growing capacity. It's saying, hey, I have a point in time that I want to be able to recover to, and I can set that point without growing my data spend. I can set that point without impacting the performance of my actual applications. It's really a zero instance or a zero copy type model for taking a snapshot of your data. We also have a capability of data deduplication, where we will actually look at the blocks of data that you have across your environment and get rid of replicas, right? So minimize the amount of footprint. We often see up to 90% efficiency rates with deduplication, depending on your workload, obviously. But you could take, say, 10 terabytes of capacity that you have sitting in the cloud, but you're only paying for actual 1 terabyte of cloud footprint. So really taking that, it's a big piece when it comes down to minimizing the amount of spend for your infrastructure inside of the cloud. Compression, another one, shrinking the actual overall capacity. Thin provisioning is another one. So saying that you need 10 terabytes, but only only paying for the capacity underneath it that's being used. So your data management environment may say 10 terabytes, but you're currently only paying for 2 terabytes. And as that data set grows, so will your actual underlying spend, but being able to make it look like a much bigger system. We also have a capability called flex clones, and this is really a writable snapshot of data. So if you take that point in time snapshot of your data, you can clone it, and you can use that clone any way that you need it. So think about possibly a development environment where you've got 100 developers working on a golden set of data, and you want all of them to have their own workspace, but they're all looking at that golden set. Well, you can set a clone of all 100 of those, give every single developer their own personal workspace, but it'll take 0 additional footprint from the original golden image. Any changes that they do moving forward will start to grow that footprint. But you can actually provision this, deploy it. It takes no additional data space. It takes no time, essentially, very, very minimal amount of time. So if you want to think about deploying additional environments, you clone, you deploy in a matter of minutes, rather than having to copy entire workspaces across many locations or many instances, which could take hours and hours to make those copies happen. So really an efficiency standpoint from both the footprint and the efficiency standpoint from the amount of time it takes to get new work environments up and running. And then we also have a technology that we call compaction, which really tries to take the data itself and fit the most amount of data into given blocks of, so in this case, of 4K blocks before it's actually written to disk. So instead of writing small amounts of data into block spaces, we will compact as much of the data that you have and then dump a full 4K block into the actual storage itself. So kind of getting into real granular detail there, but what that does is minimize the amount of footprint that you have in the storage environment itself. So think about ways of saving resources when you move to the cloud, just as you had expected a lot of these scenarios when you were looking at disk in the past. So how do we do this? So NetApp came out with a couple years ago a technology called OnTap Cloud, and this is where we've taken that #1 storage operating system and we've created a cloud version of this, right? So it is the exact same storage operating system that we use in our enterprise environments, now specifically for the cloud. So we rolled this out in an Azure environment just a few months back. But we have actually been using the OnTap Cloud, or we've deployed the OnTap Cloud, and we've got a number of customers already in operation with this, actually hundreds of customers using this, over the last couple of years. So a lot of time has gone into this, but really what this does is brings all those things that I just mentioned, brings those enterprise class efficiency, management, movement, all these tools that we have into your public cloud environment. So if you want to deploy a workload into Azure, you can actually take advantage of the capabilities that we have in a hardware environment, move them into the cloud, and deploy them just as you would expect to in a more traditional type environment. So, as I said, enterprise class capabilities in the cloud, we can launch these in minutes. So if you think about deploying storage in a data center, again, it could take a lot of time, right? You've got to purchase, you got to determine how much you need, you purchase it, you wait for your system to get there, you schedule your data center time and deploy, right? This can take a large amount of time, but when you look at a virtual version or a cloud-based version, you can launch this in minutes. You go to the Azure Marketplace and you can kick off an instance, which I'll show you in a moment. Kick this off, and within minutes, you will have an operating storage environment inside of Azure. You can seamlessly migrate your data across the environment. So think about once you've taken those minutes to create an OnTap Cloud environment inside of Azure, now you can just go back, locate your data stores that you have in your data center, and simply copy those to the cloud. And now you've got your data set in the cloud, and you can go from there. So choose your workload and move quickly. And really, once you get there, and depending on how much you've already done in the cloud, you see that as applications build, just as you had seen in the past, as applications grow, you build your environment, you build your infrastructure, you start then to look at, what is this, bill that I get every month, or this bill that I get from the cloud provider itself saying, here's how much resource I'm using and here's how much I'm spending on it. So why not build this environment on OnTap Cloud where you can take advantage of deduplication and compression and these capabilities that will actually minimize your footprint and save you dollars in the long run. So I'll talk from there. We have a management environment that goes along with OnTap Cloud, and this is called OnCommand Cloud Manager. And they're really, you think of it almost like two in the box. It's when you want to go into the cloud and you want to deploy an environment, we've got a management tool that will simplify the entire process for you. And it's a very simple interface. It makes creating environments, deploying environments, and then later managing your data very simple. So you deploy OnTap Cloud instances from Cloud Manager. You can deploy these in minutes, as I mentioned. You can set up your replication, whether it's one-time replication, whether it's scheduled replications from your premise to the cloud or from your current cloud environment to Azure. Whatever your requirements are there, you can move data in broad infrastructure, in broad environments. So if you look at the image here on the right, you can see there's, we've got two instances running in Azure, we've got instances running in AWS, we've got an on-premise environment, and all of these are talking to each other. Very simply, move your data from one point to another, set up your replication schedules, and now you've got that connection from premise to cloud and cloud to cloud. We offer additional security capabilities on top of what you already can purchase from the cloud provider through NetApp Managed Encryption, where we will allow you some additional capabilities when you want to encrypt that data that's in the cloud itself. And it really facilitates these hybrid environments, as I said, OnTap Cloud and NetApp's physical OnTap-based systems. So from there, I'll jump into a demo and kind of show you initially a real quick way how you get to OnTap Cloud and how you deploy OnTap Cloud through Cloud Manager. And then I'll give you one additional step that shows you how simple it is to move your data from one location to another. So the first place that we look at is you go to your Microsoft Azure environment. You go in, you sign in with your information, with your account that you have at Azure. And once you go in there, you're going to end up at your dashboard. And as you can see here in this dashboard, there's currently no resources, right? We have nothing here. So what we want to do is we want to go create a new environment. So for what we're going to do is go over to, add new. And then, rather than kind of go through and dig this out, we'll just type in a search for OnTap Cloud in Cloud Manager, or OnCommand. Do a search, and what you'll see here is 3 different environments that show up. This is maybe a little bit tough to read on the screen itself, but there's 3 different environments here. OnCommand Cloud Manager, OnTap Cloud for Azure, we have a BYOL, which is a bring your own license version, and then we have an Azure for pay-as-you-go solution. So this is more your hourly-based traditional one. So you'll see if you click on one of these, a number of things over here. One piece that you're going to see is the ability to create and launch from here. We do not launch these. There are notes in the descriptions, as you'll see. We do not launch OnTap Cloud directly from the marketplace itself. So you won't go here and launch OnTap Cloud. You're going to go to Cloud Manager and launch it from that environment. So one note that you do need to do, which I wanted to show you here, is when you go in and you want to launch these, you need to go and enable your subscription for these. So you'll go to OnTap Cloud, you'll click on the one that you want, and over here you choose your subscriptions and you enable it on the environment that you have. So that's what we just did here. We enable it, and now we're going to go back and we're going to actually launch this. So we'll go up to our OnCommand Cloud Manager instance. You'll see the same type of stuff over here, some description of the solution, some resources that you're going to go and find more information if you have questions. And then as we move forward, you'll create the environment. And as you create the environment, again, same thing. You're going to go through, you'll see some more of the details here and how you launch this. And then, terms of use. And then again, we'll come down here to the enable, because we'll want to enable this in our subscription environment. And now we'll launch it. So when we launch this, you're just going to give it your basic information. Oops. Oh, I jumped back too far, sorry. All right, so now we'll go back to create this. All right, let's go create the environment. And one thing I wanted to note as we go here, so you're going to enter the name of the environment that you're creating, right? So you'll give it a name, and then you'll have a username, your public key, and for your encryption, or your SSH public key information, and then the rest of your info here. One thing I wanted to note before I continued is you see a VM disk type here, and this is one thing that you want to look at. This is just a management component. The default inside of Azure is an SSD choice here. You can click on this one and choose to HDD. That's going to lower your actual cost of your management environment, and it'll give you an option to choose some of the compute instances that are on the low end side of Azure. So we'll go through this one, fill out some of the information, give your password, and then choose what resource group this is in and the location that you want to deploy it. So you'll see here we have the SSD disk types chosen, and they work with all of these compute types. If you choose HDD, you get an additional list, right? So you do have more that you can choose from. And we will choose the DS1 V2. And when we choose, we'll look through here, make sure this is everything that we want. Yes. So let's choose to move forward. And a quick double check of what you're getting into. Validated. Yes. And here's what we're paying for. Let's go ahead and purchase it. And once we purchase this, we can go into the new resource that has been created. So you can see the environment. We'll go click on that one, and now we see the specifics of the Cloud Manager environment. And one of the ones that we'll focus on here is the public IP address. So we're going to use that public IP address to go launch Cloud Manager. So we'll click to copy that one, and we will deploy this in a new web environment. So this is the actual logon screen to Cloud Manager. So we're going to set up a new one. So when we set up a new one, what you see here is a blank screen, right? So this is the start point. Oops. So this is the start point. We're going to actually go up here to start adding environments. And this is where everything kicks off. You start with a blank screen, really, with Cloud Manager, and now we're going to grow this hybrid environment. We're going to launch our cloud instances here. We can find our on-premise instances, which I'll show you in a moment as well. But this all starts from here. You'll go to the Add Environment. And this is going to bring you to a couple of different options. Whether you create infrastructure, we've got a couple different options for OnTap Cloud on creating infrastructure. And then there's another link here, which is Discover. So I'll take you through that one in just a moment. So we will choose to create an Azure environment. And we're going to give this Azure environment a name. And there's actually a wizard. I'm not going to go through the full wizard here, but it allows you really to choose the capacity that you want, the performance characteristics of this, and then you're going to say start. And that's going to take 20, 25 minutes to deploy the environment. And once you get through that deployment, you're going to have this that shows up now in your work environment. So as you see here, you've got an OnTap Cloud instance that you just labeled. It's got 20 gigabytes of capacity that it's currently set up for, and this is in an Azure environment. And we can go in and we can dig into more information here. We have a lot of tools, which I'll talk about at the end, just to point you to, that you can go learn more on OnTap Cloud and Cloud Manager. And you can get those off of YouTube. You can get those in a lot of locations. So now that we have this environment, I want to jump to another demo clip and show you specifically the next step of this one. So again, we're starting from a clean starting point here where we have one instance that we have available to us. And what we're going to do from here is we're going to say, okay, we've got our cloud location. Let's go get an on-premise location. Let's get our data to the cloud. So we're going to add a new environment. And in this case, we're actually going to go over to the Discover piece of this over here. And click on that one, and that's going to give us a couple of different options. So we can go discover an actual hardware instance, or we can discover, maybe you've already deployed an OnTap Cloud environment already, and you want to discover one that's already been deployed. So in this case, we're getting a hardware environment. So you click on that. This is going to bring up a list of items that you want to choose from. What's the IP address essentially of your hardware platform? And give it your administrative credentials, username, password, and then it's going to go find it. And what it's going to do is say, okay, here's some more information about your system. Let's give it a description. And now here it is inside your workspace. It's found it. Now what do we want to do? We want to actually take data from our hardware storage environment and move that to the cloud. So what does it take to do that? We've got a number of things that we can go look at and go see more details on this, but we just want to copy. So how do we do that? We just click on our hardware platform and drag it to our cloud platform. And now this is kicking off a wizard for us to move the data set of our choice into the cloud. And in this case, so what this brings up, hey, we want to look at all the different environments inside of the hardware platform. Here's all the volumes that are on that system. We want a specific one. We're looking for one of our SQL databases. Oh, and here it is right here. Let's choose this database. This is what we want to copy. And in order to do that, we need to give it a destination location. So let's take our SQL 001 volume. We're going to move it to the cloud. We're going to call it our DR copy in this case, but we're moving it to the cloud. So let's go ahead and move forward. Do we want, what's the transfer rate? Do we want to limit it? Now, how do we want to do this? Do we want to do a copy only, or do we want to set up a backup scenario? So in this case, we can copy a specific data set. We can do one time. We can set up a couple of different options from a replication schedule. In this case, we're going to do daily replications. So this is our review screen. So I just took you through, 3 or 4 steps. You drag the storage environment to the cloud location. You set up which volume you want to choose. You give it a destination location. And this is our review screen. You see your source on the left over here, which is your hardware platform. Here's the volume you want to copy. And then SQL 001 DR copy is going to be the destination. And that destination is on this platform. So let's go ahead and move forward and say, yes, this is what I want to do. Here's some more specifics on it. I understand that if I need to purchase more storage in order to make this copy happen, we will do that under the covers. And now you see it here. So here's the 2 platforms. You've got your hardware on the right. You've got your software on the left. And now with the line in between, that is signifying that you have a copy relationship from one point to the other. And one thing I want to note here is as you deploy these, we showed you how to deploy an Azure environment. You can copy from one cloud location to another cloud location. You could deploy 100 Azure instances and copy data between them, right? So there's all these different ways that you can move data, but it is as simple as click and drag your source location to your destination location, and you are complete.
So this specific demo is showing an AWS environment, but obviously it's the same thing for Azure, right?
Exactly.
It's agnostic and it works with both.
Exactly. So that concludes the demo, and I'd be happy to answer some questions if you have those in the chat window. But I just wanted to note, how do you do this, right? So first thing you need to do is you can go out to try this, right? So we have instances. The instances that I showed you that I deployed off of the Azure environment, there is a 30-day free trial associated with that. So you can go into your Azure account, choose an OnTap Cloud instance, launch it, and it's free for the first 30 days. And as to note, for the Cloud Manager piece of this, there is no charge for Cloud Manager. The one thing that you do need to understand is that NetApp gives you the free instance environment. For what we do, you are going to pay for your resources that are chosen underneath there. And so if you have a little bit of capacity, or if you have some other items, there is going to be some charge for those from the provider themselves. But very simple. You go out there, you launch the environment. You saw how long it took for me to choose those items. There's a couple of other wizard steps that you go through to decide on how big of an environment you want to deploy. But again, the first 30 days are free, and you can do all of these things with that. It is not a limited copy. It is not a subset of these capabilities. It's everything for the first 30 days. And you can take that, launch it with Cloud Manager, create your new OnTap Cloud instance, and use Cloud Manager to create those efficient storage environments. And from a resource standpoint, we have a lot of different items, a lot of different links that you can go to learn more. And one of the big ones that we want to point you to is here, our cloud.netapp.com site. So there's a lot of information there that you can go, you can actually click, you can get videos, directly access to your videos to learn about these. There's more in-depth video demos that I showed you just now. So if you want to go and you want to figure out how to do this, you can actually go to that site and learn more. And then lastly, we have a group of cloud architects that are willing to help you through this process. So if you want to reach out and you have questions, reach out to the link at the bottom of the screen here. and an architect will get back to you. One thing I wanted to note, which I didn't touch upon in the Cloud Manager piece, is we do have in the bottom right corner a point where you can chat with cloud architects. So you can go into that chat window and ask questions directly to the cloud architects as well. So if you go out and you deploy your Cloud Manager environment, you can be up and running, you've got questions, you can jump into the chat window and ask the questions there. And that is about it. So here's the OnTap Cloud, or the cloud.netapp.com environment, just to show you an example of what it looks like when you get over there. You can launch your free trial from that location, see some videos from that point as well.
Right, that will take you directly to the marketplace.
Yeah.
If you click that button. So Jeff, why don't you maybe answer a question about the payment? Maybe just explain about the BYOL and pay-go options.
So just to clarify that, I touched on, we have two options for purchasing this platform. So if you think of there's two different models of purchasing, which is you go to the marketplace, you can go click and launch and deploy, and you can pay by the hour. So there's a pay as you go, and we have signified there in the title that allows you to click, launch, get your 30-day free trial, and you pay by the hour after that. And the second type of platform is purchased on what's called a BYOL, or bring your own license. If you have a relationship with NetApp, or you want to purchase a longer term subscription directly, you can actually go launch the environment off the marketplace, or go launch your OnTap Cloud environment, and there is a point in that wizard that'll say, I already have a license. And then you'll go into that. It'll allow you to enter the license that you go purchase directly from NetApp. So those are the two models. Purchase a subscription from NetApp, or just go pay by the hour directly from Microsoft Azure.
Okay, so I want to be sensitive to everybody's schedule, and it is 40 past the hour, so we're going to finish it here. Folks, you have my email, gali.kovacs@netapp.com. If you do have more questions, or if you do want me to connect you to Cloud Architect to help you get started, please feel free to email me. And I am going to stop the recording now, and this will be sent out to everyone who registered. So feel free to forward it within your organization. And thank you very much for taking the time to be with us today. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Jeff, very much.